Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth. There is no such thing as coincidence, no such thing as mistakes, and we are here to share our life experiences on that subject with you. My name is Deb Miller.
Hi everybody, I am Susan Doyle. Hi Deb. It hasn't really been a minute. We've talked a bunch since last time, I think.
Yes, we have. It's
You
always
did
good to,
remind me of because this was really one of the funniest things that we've ever said about the falling iguanas.
falling
Yeah.
iguanas. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's been cold where you are, but
Yes.
I
Well,
digress.
yes. And you know what? This is a good segue because our guest today.
Yes, we have a guest. I'm so excited.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited too. Our guest is Laura Ellis. And Laura, before I get into who you are and what you're all about, and what you're going to share, you lived on the East Coast of Florida for a while, didn't you?
I did, yes, in the
A-
Port Orange area.
And did you have any iguanas around you that fell from trees like I did when I was in Fort
I
Lauderdale?
actually, no, I have not,
No?
no. No falling iguanas, no.
Yeah, they'd fall and all of a sudden they're on the ground and then they come alive when they get warm and off they go.
Iguana,
It's iguana. Oh yeah, you've never heard that?
like,
Yeah. When the temperature gets below something, it
I think
they
it's like 45 or 50, or maybe it's
yeah,
like
it's something like that.
40-ish.
Because they
Yeah.
sleep in the trees. And what happens is I don't know, their system shuts down when it gets really cold and they kind of go into a shock and they fall from the trees that they're sleeping in. And they land on the ground, on the beach, on the sidewalk, in the road. And
unconscious?
yeah, they're totally
Kind of, yeah.
unconscious. And then
Oh,
when it gets
interesting.
warm up, when the sun comes up and it starts to warm up,
Mhm.
they come back alive and off they go. Oh yeah, it's a
And this is
thing.
only on the East Coast?
Yes, because that's where the iguanas live. I guess they're not indigenous. I don't know. So they're not really
Indigenous.
yeah, they're not supposed to be in Florida at all, but somebody brought a pet over and then they, you know,
Multiply.
multiplied
And now they're
humongously.
falling from trees.
They're not, yeah, now and so they're not on the West Coast, they're only on the East Coast. So yeah.
I was there 15 years. I've never witnessed that.
Oh my gosh,
I would
yeah.
like to.
Oh
It's
no.
interesting.
It's
Falling
yeah, it
iguanas.
is. And they're big, they're 3 or 4 feet. They can be really, yeah, they can be even bigger than that. They're huge.
Jeez.
So
And I pay
anyways.
attention, so I don't know.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
Well,
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
do a formal introduction of you. We're so glad that you're here. I can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah.
And bear with me as I'm gonna look away from the camera so I can read this. So Laura is the founder and facilitator of Transition Liaison Global since 2010. You're a keynote speaker as well as a holistic life coach, author, and hypnotherapist who's overcome a near-death experience without Western medicine protocols. I can't wait to hear about that story. You recently moved to Sarasota after being on the East Coast of Florida for 15 years and not witnessing any falling iguanas. You're a powerful healer who has a deep understanding of the subconscious mind. Laura has a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with audiences, teaching them how to use the power of the subconscious to reach their goals and create positive change in their life. Her inspiring talks will motivate and empower any audience. She's passionate and dynamic speaker who will deliver an unforgettable speech. So I want to just start by saying Laura and I were connected recently by a networking place that we both belong to, and she had reached out. Of course, this is all things Deb and Sue. We love this kind of topic and what Laura's an expertise in. And we had a conversation that was only going to be probably 15-20 minutes as an introduction. I think we are on the phone or on Zoom for like an hour and a half just chatting it up.
I
There's
enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. There's so much to learn, so much to know, and I would love for you to just start us on understanding what you do, how you do it, and what brought you to where you are today. And I think some of that has to do with your near-death experience, if I'm not correct.
It has everything to do with it,
Yes.
Deb. And again, thank you for having me.
Of
Thank
course.
both of you. Okay, so I was in a relationship of 2 years, and my significant other at the time was into motorcycles, which has never been my thing, but I was trying to be flexible. And got on this motorcycle with him, and 5 minutes later, I was laying in the middle of Highway 19 unconscious. I was ejected at 45 miles an hour and landed 30 yards away from the scene, of which he went down with the motorcycle, so he wasn't hurt. This was in the early morning. There was no drugs or alcohol or anything like that involved. Just looking back in retrospect, and according to the accident report, he just wasn't paying attention. He was going to hit a truck in front of us.
Whoa.
So interesting, though, to me. And I was in a different state of awareness then, of course, right? We keep moving forward and learning, hopefully, and growing. As we were on the back of the motorcycle, I kept hearing this sound that was surreal. It wasn't the motorcycle itself, and you know how loud.
Mm-hmm.
So consciously, I'm thinking, how can I possibly be hearing this? What is this? I know today what it is, and I'm very aware of the signs. This was nature, referring to nature. But it sounded like, and it was, 1,000 crows or more, just cawing over and over and over again. And the conscious thought to me was, I'm still on the motorcycle. How can I be hearing this? What is this? It was surreal.
Mm.
I looked up, and it was literally like it was a vortex of crows or ravens in like a tornado form right above us. And that was the last conscious memory I had until I had an out-of-body experience after being ejected, of course. And I don't remember going flying through the air at that rate of speed. I mean, I could access that memory if I wanted to, but why would I want to do that? So the subconscious was protecting me.
Mm.
And my first conscious memory after the impact was me above my body, looking down at my body with an entourage of people around it, or my physical self. And I remember thinking, well, where am I? What's happening here? And the next thing I knew, I had gotten back into my body, and now I'm looking up and I see the people. And after that, the ambulance had not to be called, it just happened to be there or happening by with no one in it. They picked me up, not literally, they more or less scraped me up. I was bleeding profusely from multiple areas and went to the hospital. And after the hospital stay, which was a nightmare because it was a little river hospital, not a very equipped hospital for something like what had happened to me. And they sent me home for bed rest, really. There was nothing more they could do for me physically, except I did have to go through a lot of MRIs and so forth thereafter. But the bottom line is that I couldn't walk. I couldn't bathe. I couldn't eat for a while because I had damage done my teeth. It was just awful. So a very humbling experience, if I wasn't already humbled. And as it turns out, the universe had that orchestrated because my significant other worked from home and he took care of me. Somebody had to change my wounds and so forth. But Susan, you made a comment earlier about oxycodone. And they loaded me up with oxycodone and Tramadol. Of course they would, but I refused to take the drugs. And why did I do that? Because I knew, at least in that state of awareness, that I needed my mind to heal. And you can't do that if you're dumbed down on drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. You've lost the con to it, to super consciousness at that point. So thankfully I knew that. And I didn't have anything else to do because I couldn't move. So it was a blessing again in disguise because I had no distraction. And I
So that was
focused.
a conscious decision on your part not to take the medication that they were prescribing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And had you ever said to yourself, I'm sorry for interrupting your story, but have you ever
No.
said to yourself prior to this accident, how in tune were you to things like that prior to having this experience? Like if something had, I don't know, if you got a tooth pulled or you got whatever, were you very much against numbing? Like were you very much against, not feeling to be able to heal prior to this experience? Is that just sort of who you are?
I would say basically yes, because
Okay.
I came on the planet an empath. I didn't know what that was. That was it was and is a journey, not so much
Hmm.
now, but yeah, I would say yes. It's not to say that, like for example, when I had my son, I opted for natural childbirth, right? But for the most part, I've never been. I just think instinctively I knew that
Hmm.
this wasn't right. Just like, forgive me, but I organize religion the same way. Um, to me, it was more like organized government. And so
Hmm.
I'm very spiritual, but not, I don't adhere to any particular sect of religious organization,
Right.
right?
Mhm. I have a
So,
question.
sure.
Sorry. Um,
I
you
like
had
questions.
you had mentioned that being on painkillers or anything like that.
I was not. Mhm.
Right, but you had mentioned because you knew it blocked the conduit to the
Yes,
subconscious, right? Or
to the super
superconscious?
consciousness.
Super
Yeah,
consciousness. Do you
yeah,
believe that like antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills do the same thing?
yes, absolutely. Anything that you take that dumbs you down, those are my terms. I've worked with nurse practitioners that have been run through the gamut and been to the Mayo Clinic and everywhere that you could possibly imagine. And this is more than one because they had easy access to all these different facilities, right? Um, who were on a multitude of drugs and didn't understand that from their educational background.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. Anything that you take and ingest that is, mind altering, mood altering, is you're losing the conduit. You can't, for example, here's the analogy, you can't put the plug in the outlet if the outlet is damaged, right?
Mm, mhm.
So you lose that connection to source, basically. Who wants to do that? I sure do.
I don't, but I am on antidepressants, and
Mhm.
I have a very strong meditation uh
Mhm.
ritual that I do, and I feel that I do speak to spirit, but I also do feel that I can see how it can block you. I can definitely see how it can block you. Um but anyways, we'll continue. That'll be another conversation that we'll have. I want you to continue with your story also.
Where
How
was I?
long did you spend in the hospital after or how many days were you there prior to being able to
It
go
was weeks.
home? Oh, it was.
Yeah.
And
Um,
you refused the medication there as well.
I couldn't. I
Oh, they
could
wouldn't
not.
let you. Yeah.
No, they would not.
Did you have
But
broken bones?
they told me, yes, they told me that I had destroyed my left knee, not just broken it, but destroyed it, shattered
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
They wanted to put pins in my right leg. I had third-degree abrasions from
Mm.
the bottom of my face down to my feet, which the wounds were at third degree. So everything had to be addressed and readdressed while it's healing, right? And cleansed and so forth.
Hmm.
Um, they projected plastic surgery for the third degree abrasions. my nerves were exposed in my hands. I mean, it was incredible.
Oh,
And yeah, so that's what happened. Other than that, there were no broken bones, but I think that's more than plenty because they told me I wasn't going to walk again, and I was thinking,
right. Oh, sure.
no, this is not my truth. You know, I want to put my boots on.
Mm.
And I want to walk around. And that's exactly what I did was I used the imaging faculty of my mind. Einstein, right? So I've had that state of awareness as well. And that's what I didn't have anything else to do. So that's what I focused on day after day after day. And fortunately, he was around, so he was there taking care of me.
So you visualized your healing.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
How were you aware of your out of body experience right away, or did it
No,
slowly come back to you as you were getting more conscious to your,
what
what
had happened?
did it come to you as you were deeper connection with your mind and body as you were healing? Did it come back to you, or was it always right there from the moment it happened?
That's hard to discern now, Susan, because it's all, seems like comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've been, in that part of the story or telling that part of the story for quite a while now. But I think um, I obviously, no, I don't think I knew that at the time. I was going to say no to that because I was in shock, literally. And that's actually what took me to what I do today. Uh, the aftermath of after healing myself.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, I went to San Diego. Why did I go to San Diego? I don't know. I just needed a change. And I started having panic attacks. I didn't know what that was because I've always been a very Zen individual for the most part and drug free. And so the doctors there, I have to admit, and I was in fear because I was thinking, how did I overcome physically all of this? Excuse me. And now here I am, I couldn't stand the sound of a car. It just hit me all at once.
Mm.
6 months, 7 months
Would you
later.
describe that as PTSD?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
But did the doctors tell me that? No, they didn't.
No.
No. Here's your Xanax. Your blood pressure's up. And I'm thinking, I didn't go through all of this for that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was fortunate enough again to my attorney here in Tampa, which was a very good attorney. That's unusual, isn't it? Forgive me. But he recommended a hypnotherapist in the area where I was, an older, seasoned gentleman, I'll call him that. And he put me in check in 7 sessions.
Wow.
And that was, oh, I spirit. That was 17 years ago or so. Not a big timekeeper, but yeah.
Yeah.
Before I founded Transitions, and that's what led me to found Transitions. I started my schooling there at HMI, which is from what I know, the only respected college of hypnotherapy in the country.
Mm.
So that was the beginning. And then I came back to Florida after a side stint to visit my ailing mother, who was also Susan. She was 93.
Mm.
And I woke up one morning and on the screen of my mind literally was Transitions Liaison. And I'm thinking, what is that? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we are. And that was the beginning of my work. And I
Is there
found,
a difference between an out-of-body experience and a near-death experience as people describe it?
I would
Or is it
say that
basically the same kind of thing?
um, that's a good question. Oftentimes that happens simultaneously, right?
Mm-hmm.
With me, it did not. Um, Not sure why that is, but I would say they're both the same. It's just some people experience one or the other or both, right? And some people stay in that mindset of, well, I crossed over and I saw my ancestors or what have you, which is very possible. I've
Yeah, so that's
connected.
what I was going to ask you. Did you feel a pull towards this vortex, and did you feel like the vortex was symbolized, that I don't know the right terminology, but sort of that holding space in between life and
The
death?
realms. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
would absolutely say that's true. Um, I know
Was it
now that,
comforting? Did you feel good there?
well, at the time I wasn't aware. It was just happening. And like I said to you, I didn't understand what the message was. What's happening here? I just like, oh my gosh. And then I was on the highway like a pancake. But today they still show up for me and in different forms. And I recognize the messages.
Who shows up for you? Your guides or angels or?
I'm I'm very tuned into the animal spirits.
Okay. Is that why the crows did what they did? Like why do you think the crows showed up like that?
Well, they are known to be, and it's biblical, the smartest of all the birds in flight. They can transcend the realms. They can go from fourth dimension to this dimension. And in the good book, I refer to the Bible as the good book. Um, they were known, it was written, recorded anyway, that they fed Elijah when he was in the desert.
Mm,
So they are extremely intelligent. Now I'm in tune to all the birds, hawk, eagles, cardinals, whatever, and they show up for different reasons. They have different
mm,
messages. The crows and the ravens, I'm not sure, um, Deb, if they were crows or ravens because they're so similar.
right,
Although I know that the ravens are larger.
right.
But at that point, I mean, I didn't know. And today, they both represent the same thing to me. But it's the formations that they make that I'm tuned into, and I recognize, oh, it could still be a warning, or it could
Yeah,
be a good thing. But more often than not, it's a warning of some sort for me.
a warning. Okay,
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, but I wish I had known that at the time. I would
Yeah,
stop the bike, let me off now. But that
right.
didn't happen, of course.
Right. It wasn't meant to happen. It was not meant to happen that way. It had to happen the way it did. So
Right,
that,
exactly.
yeah. So all
Yeah,
of this could have come out.
yeah.
So,
Could
um,
it be easier?
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, I
Couldn't
know.
I have been just going for a nice walk in the woods and gotten this
Right.
message?
Right.
You do a lot with people, hypnosis wise. I know we talked about this a little bit, weight loss and,
Mhm.
to stop smoking and
Mhm.
have you not
Yeah,
done smoke?
no, I'm not interested in working with them.
That's right. I remember you said that. That's how
I
I
have.
quit smoking. I went to a hypnotist
I
and quit.
remember you telling me.
Yes, but you said you don't usually work with people that to quit smoking.
No, and in all actuality, at this segment of my journey and my work, the people, the women that come to me are been severely afflicted with trauma, childhood trauma.
Okay.
And that's my specialty, I would say. Now that can manifest, in different ways. They can be 60 pounds overweight and of course, diets don't work. They weren't created to work. Ozempic can kill you, as can anything else. And I know about that. I've talked to plastic surgeons that refuse to do the bypass surgeries because women primarily, were dying of potato.
Mm,
So yeah, it's mostly body image that I work with women. It's the nucleus of it all, though, really, in my opinion, is self-esteem and confidence.
mhm,
And so if you've been bullied as a child, um, up to the years of 10, some hypnotherapists say 7 or 8 years old, but from what I witnessed, generally 10 when the critical factor mind hasn't developed yet fully. So all the information that you've been exposed to in your environment, even the third trimester in the womb, becomes your story. You become a product of that environment. So if you're overweight, it's not necessarily because grandma was, right? It's not necessarily because you're borderline diabetic or going to be, which is, a very sad thing. it's all about the emotions, really. Weight gain is all about the emotions. So these big pharma companies, if you remember Weight Watchers and all of that, yes, you can lose weight, but it's not sustainable
Mm,
because they're not getting to the root cause. So I developed a program for Women Perfect Image, which uses a combination of techniques that I have. And
mhm,
I've had women lose, I know documented, 48 pounds for the most part in 12 weeks naturally, gracefully, I'll say. No
mm.
diets, no drugs, nothing like that. Just by addressing
Wow.
the emotions. Yeah, it is a
S-
wow. I've
eh,
worked with alcoholics that have been, and the most rewarding part of my work is to see the results. And then these women, again, who I choose to work with and primarily do, will bring me cards and flowers. And when it's all said and done and
mm.
changed my life, no, thank you, but I didn't change your life. You did. I
Mm-hmm.
just facilitated, right?
Yeah,
In the right.
it's funny because I've got Sue here who is very conscious of being in good shape and exercising and eating right. And then I've got you, Laura, who is like, okay, let's take your brain and try to rewire it from that past trauma and
Right.
get and then there's me who I'm a recovering addict. I like the quick, I want to lose weight. Sure, if I can take this pill, I'm going to do that rather than go through the weeks and weeks of training and exercise and hard work it takes psychologically. And you got to dig deep and you got to do the work. It's not something that I'm proud of, but I like the instant gratification. So
Okay, but here I'm going to say this to you. Your journey um, uh, in recovery was not a quick fix. You had to do the work. It's the same thing regard any type of change that you want to make
Is a process.
requires work, requires introspection, requires changing the dialogue, all of it.
I
Doesn't matter
know
what you're doing.
That's
Weight
exactly.
loss, alcoholism, drug addiction, anything like that.
Here's
I
an,
yeah.
go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
I mean,
I was just
like, so I think of the quick fix as like somebody who quits drinking and white knuckles. At some point, it's gonna stop working. Like
Yes,
Weight Watchers, great. Points, whatever. Like,
that's it.
who the fuck can lives their
No.
life like counting points? That's a quick fix to me.
yeah.
Ozempic is a quick fix to me.
Oh God.
Or,
Yeah.
GLP-1s, I like to call, I don't want to call out Ozempic because but, the
They might
GLP-1s,
not like it.
All right,
are,
but here's an absolute example that I'll share, which is going to make me be very vulnerable because this is a lot of people are going to hear about it. But my antidepressants, I've tried not several times. I've tried a few times to get off of them, and I become unfunctional. Like I can't. It is such a heavy, dark place that I go to that it scares me even thinking of weaning off of them for fear that I'll end up in that place again. So I take my pills because I know that I do know that they're going to make me be able to function in life. Now,
Can I
going,
ask you a question, Deb?
yeah, please.
How do you know that?
Because I've tried to get off of them and I can't. I'm during the times when they're out of my system, I'm in the darkest, blackest, deepest, coldest hole that I've ever been in, and it scares the shit out of me. So,
That's a belief. Okay.
well,
And all meds, I'm sorry, but all meds are placebos. So you could be taking, and Dr. Joe Dispenza can back this up, what I'm saying, if you've ever heard of him. So can Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and so on and so forth. They're scientists. So when people, if the doctor hands you a prescription, let's just go there for a minute, can we?
Yeah.
And says, okay, here you go. You're depressed, and here's some, I don't know, whatever it is, a Flexor. And you take this 2 or 3 times a day. This is the doctor telling you.
Hmm.
And you say, okay, most people don't say why, but you might say why. And he said, because you're showing signs of clinical depression, and this drug is going to help you with that. So you believe that, right? And you start taking these pills and you start feeling better. What's really happening here is the drug isn't doing anything. It's your belief about the drug that's doing it. And that's
Yeah.
so
I can see that. I can definitely see that. I think where I struggle is if I was going to work with you or work with somebody um to get off of these meds, I know that it's going to be painful for a while till I reconnect
not
my thought
necessarily.
process.
That's another belief. Not necessarily. I've had well, let's just say, okay, I'll put it in this context. Someone is a smoker. We'll go to the smoke people. And my first question is, or was to them, I don't work with them anymore, as you know, but only because I choose not to. I don't like the odor they bring in and so forth. So I say, or they say to me, if I quit smoking, I may gain weight. Well, that's a belief. Have people done that? Yes, but that's a belief again. So then I say to them, is this something that you really, really want to do? Or is it just a thought? Well, I'd like to quit smoking and Laura can put me in check in 3 sessions.
Mm,
Yes, I can. But here's the thing. If you believe you're going to gain weight when you quit smoking, you will.
mhm.
If you believe, I mean, not with me because I'll inject some things in there so that it doesn't happen. But what I'm trying to say is during the sessions that um, if you believe you got yourself in a fear mode, Deb,
Yeah,
because you become a slave to the meds. That's what they want.
I
They want you
know.
to be a slave to the meds, and they are addictive. Yeah.
I
So,
know. I am a slave to the meds. There's no doubt about it. And I
and
know
that's
it's in the power of thought. And
very.
I get that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
just well we'll talk more offline about it because I would like to take a look at that for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but I want to get back to talking about I want to talk about past life regression that you do because I'm a firm believer that that can also heal going into your past life can heal physical and mental trauma that you're experiencing in this life. Do you feel that same way?
Absolutely. But I think we talked about this a little bit offline. Um, and this is my opinion in the way I do things. I have found, when, for example, the individuals that have deep trauma from childhood, you're only affected up until the age of 10 in this lifetime. But as you talked about earlier, Susan, you touched on the subject somewhere. Um, so I'm going to pull from that too. But what I wanted to say is, we've all been carrying threads from generations of individuals that didn't do their job in the past. When I say that, what I mean is they chose not to make changes. And so all of those individuals, grandma, grandpa, great grandma, and just the list goes on, it just reinforces what we bring into this world in this lifetime. So what I do more often than the past life regressions, at first, I'll say that at first, is to address what happened to them in this lifetime. What are you at the effect of, cause and effect, right? From this lifetime. Because that's really a big clue. If it's not taken care of in this lifetime, then I'll regress them back,
Mm.
and we'll go back
And
generation to generation, right? But more
can
often,
these individuals
good.
actually remember, like, sometimes people don't think trauma is actually trauma. It's just the way things were, or, so can these individuals actually verbalize trauma, or is it through a series of questions or a conversation where where they kind of give you like, oh, well, the energy in my house was this, or this is how my parents spoke to me, or my dad used to yell at me. Is it, and that's how it comes up? Because I would think it's hard to label it trauma
Mhm.
unless you were physically beaten or,
No,
sexually like
no,
molested or something like that. Lots of times it was just, oh yeah, like my dad yelled all the time or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
right. And then you end up marrying someone that is yelling all the time. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it
Mm-hmm.
works. You become a
Mm-hmm.
product of all of that.
Right, but can
But you're
these people actually label it as
And
trauma, or is,
identify it.
not
Yeah.
yes,
ident
identify
no,
it. Thank you, Deb.
not
Yeah.
initially, but that's
Okay.
another aspect of what I do, is I bring
Mm-hmm.
awareness first,
Mm-hmm.
because in my opinion, extremely important. You need to know why.
Yes.
Why are you here? You're here because you're experiencing this, this, and this. Okay. And if it is, let's just say, because dad was yelling all the time and I was constantly on edge, and now I've
Mm-hmm.
married someone that's verbally abusive to me. And that's the way it works. It's a good example, actually. They don't understand that. They don't understand why they can't break away, or they'll have a pattern of attracting these partners into their life that display those same characteristics. Okay, just reinforcing to the unconscious mind what it's been exposed to. It's a program, just a computer.
Mm-hmm.
On and on. The hamster on the wheel effect, I say. So, are they aware? No, more often they are not. But that's what I
Okay.
want to do, is bring awareness so they
Mm-hmm.
understand. And then as we're moving through the process, have a greater understanding of why. And then we go in and address it from there. But the thing is, physical trauma, you can imagine in 15 years, the stories that I hear, that I
Mm-hmm.
just, even with what my story is or was, I feel so blessed, because it's unbelievable. Some of the stories, that things that they've experienced. So, but verbal abuse, let's just say, um, is actually worse than physical abuse.
Mm.
Some people have both, right? Or some people stood by and watched their sister or brother take the brunt of it, and they did not. But it's still information that the unconscious mind is taking in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So it affects them. Now, it might not affect Susie Joe in the family, because Susie Joe wasn't privy to that type of whatever dysfunction, we call it. But there'll be something else there, because the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It really doesn't. It knows addiction's addiction, could be anything: pornography, smoking, drinking, what have you. And the same thing with the emotions with partners, male, female, doesn't matter. It doesn't know the difference. It just
So,
knows function.
so when somebody's being verbally abused and accosted, that you're saying that gets
It's
into our
worse.
subconscious
Yeah.
mind, and it's difficult to get it out, and that's why we tend to hold on to that, because that's what we're hearing and that's what we're believing, and then there it
That's what you
stays.
believe about yourself. Yes, that's right. Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the patterns continue. I never ceases to amaze me. And what you touched on a moment ago, Susan, is so true. People don't understand. That's the biggest thing. They don't
Mm-hmm.
understand why they're functioning, not at optimal levels for sure, but why are they functioning at, doing the same things, the same patterns over and over again? They're miserable, or they're taking
Mm-hmm.
drugs for God knows how long. They're miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Or what about the homeless people? You look at them, I look at them and I say, oh my goodness, they're not getting the help they deserve. And they're not getting the right help. If I may, I'd like to share something about a celebrity. Can I go there for a minute?
Or
Sure.
Hmm?
we'll
Sure.
tag them and get their
Yeah.
attention. Go right
Okay,
ahead.
so Ron White, we know him, the comedian, right? Ron White. He
Ron
was,
White, yes, yep,
yeah,
yep, yep. So you
always on
probably,
stage with the bourbon and the cigar, and little pug dogs or what have you.
He's he's a country guy, like always.
Maybe,
Well, he
maybe,
pretends.
probably. If
Yeah,
I look him up right
right.
now, I'd
Yes,
probably
you
recognize him,
would
but
know
yeah.
if you did. Ron
Okay.
White, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so he would come on stage and he's always has that drink in his hand and blah blah blah. And he's funny, and he's still funny. But the point is, he really was an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic. So in all of this, this was on a podcast he did 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years now. There's some clips on YouTube. You can find it. And he talks about it. So he had been in and out of rehab centers. It cost him something, I don't know, over $100,000. He said he'd be in 3 months and out, in 3 months and out. Well, that's because just like we were talking about, they're not created to make you well. And if you know, or rather, excuse me, if they know you have deep pockets, well, they're just keep bringing you back because they know that you can pay for it. So he said in the podcast that obviously it never cured him of anything, and because he was in and out like a yo-yo. And here's the funny part. And the good part. So he's talking to the podcast host, and he's clean now. And the host was asking him, "Well, how did you do this? How did you get clean after all of this that you've been through?" He'd lost his home, he lost his marriages, and so on, because it's a very ugly addiction, right? So a friend of his introduced him to a hypnotherapist in Laguna Beach. And Ron White had no idea what that meant. Most people don't. They think of hypnosis and they think of the stage antics and, my goodness, they're going to turn me into a chicken or God knows what else. Which isn't hypnotherapy at all, really. It's an entrancement. So anyway, moving forward. So Ron decides that, well, I have nothing else to lose at this point. And he went to this individual's home. Well, when he pulled in the driveway, the individual had the garage door open. Apparently, he was working out of his garage. And this is Ron White. And he's thinking, what in the world? Why did they send me here? And but he went against his first judgment, and he walked towards the garage, and everything in there was retro, blue velvet couches and so forth. He had it. That was his office in the garage. And so the hypnotherapist came out, and Ron kept looking at his head because he had a wig on, a toupee, but it was on backwards. And so he was focused on it and focused on it. And when he said that, me being a hypnotherapist, I thought, well, this individual did that on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ron was even smart enough to agree. I was surprised, but he said, maybe he's doing that, so I'll just look at his head all the time, which he did. So it was on purpose. Never could find out who this person was, who this hypnotherapist was. But the point is, I think he said 6 sessions. Don't hold me to that. What cost him $10,000 put him clean and sober. And that was 3 years ago. After all of that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But we still don't know why he had his wig on backward.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay. He did that to distract his conscious mind. So Ron's focusing, like, should I tell him? Should I not tell him? Look at him, he looks ridiculous, whatever was going through his mind.
Okay.
And meanwhile, the hypnotherapist, because there is an aspect of like what I do, which is conversational hypnotherapy, as well. Dr. Milton Erickson was big on that. Probably don't know him, but he's not on the planet anymore. He was a famous psychiatrist that renounced psychiatry and went into hypnotherapy, like Dr. Brian Weiss.
Yeah, Brian Weiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, that's interesting. So the whole time you're focused on something and then the hypnotherapist is putting thoughts and ideas into your head while you're not realizing that that's what's happening because you're focused on, that's wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's one
awesome.
technique. There are many,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I've never had anyone in 15 years that I couldn't put
That you
under.
couldn't help. Wow. All right. Well,
Interesting.
that's really good to know because Yeah, I know I could use some help for sure.
I will help you there.
I know we're coming up on the end of the time, but Sue, did you have any last questions or?
No, I was gonna ask Laura to kind of give us just I guess she gave us the why, but so what would somebody's why be to come see you? I don't want you to, I was gonna say give us your what your elevator pitch is, but I don't really want to do that. More is what is your mission for in regards to what for what you do or why you do it? What's your why?
So my why would be, of course, primarily to help women, because
Mm-hmm.
women have been disempowered for centuries, right? We're still being suppressed. That's quite clear. That's the number one why. I would say the other aspect is everything that I've learned and experienced on my journey,
Mm-hmm.
which took me decades to overcome for the most part. I can help these women in record time where they're still under this, life is going by and they're still on this cycles of the
Right.
unconscious mind. They don't understand it. And it could be for a variety of reasons that they're not aware of. And I want to bring awareness to them
Mm-hmm.
and make them understand so that it doesn't repeat the cycles anymore. They don't repeat the cycles anymore. Breaking the chains, really.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Um,
Mm.
where can people find you?
They can, oh, I have
Spirit is
So,
with
truth be
her.
told, Laura just wrote a book. It was just published.
Yes.
We're kind of thinking by the time this episode gets on the vehicles in which our listeners listen, it will be on Amazon. But
It-
Thank you. Yes.
It's called
um,
Unraveling the Ancestral Web.
mm,
Yes. And in the book, I actually have ways, we'll call them tidbits, but it's more than that, for people to bring awareness as to these patterns that they're repeating and may not understand that they even are.
Mm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of insight about that. And also, what is a past life regression? It's not about going
mm-hmm,
to see someone, right? That
Yeah.
says they're a psychic or whatever, and they want to know who their soulmate is. It
mm-hmm.
doesn't work like that with me. It's a
Yeah.
deep dive. Yes.
Mm.
So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you both
course.
for having me. I enjoyed it. Time flew by.
Yes, it
It
was
did. It
fun.
actually did. Your story is fascinating to
Thank you.
me. Debbie, I call Debbie. Debbie and I have been, our story is we were best of friends, found, lost our way, found our way back to each other, and our quest for knowledge and our quest for a new way of being, regard, regardless of that 30-year gap, because the roads that we traveled were quite different, is the same. And it's this, how can I become more empowered? How can I share my gifts? What am I leaving behind? What can I, do to, wake other women up to what their
Yes.
gifts are, what they're leaving
Mm.
behind, how to become more conscious, all the things.
But they have to really want that. And
Of course they do. Of
you
course
touch,
they do.
but oftentimes too, they'll say that and then
They
they
won't
can
do the
become
work. I get
frightened.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, my
it's
whole
frightening.
entire career is built around people who
Right.
drop
And
off
you
and come back, drop off and come back,
um
you know. But
yes, but I don't want
but
that.
then when you're in with but it is a gift to be involved with the person, regardless of how many times the light bulb went on and off, when the light bulb finally goes on and stays on.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
where,
That's it.
that's where the power lies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you asked how they can find me. They can go to the website, of course. And once
Mm-hmm.
there, excuse me, I do offer a complimentary phone consultation.
Awesome. What's your
Yeah.
website? Your website, spell it out.
Well, it's transitionsliaisonglobal.com.
There
Okay.
you go.
To
We'll
spell it,
also put it in.
Yeah, we'll post it when we post this and let everybody know that this podcast has become live. And we'll have all your contact information and a link to buy your book too, because
thank you. Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
And all they need to do is fill out the form on the homepage, and
Mhm.
then I'll get back to them and arrange for this consultation. I think that's very important too. They need to know where they're coming from,
mhm,
what their needs are, and
Right.
then I can let them know if I can help them. But most
Awesome.
likely I can.
I'm sure you can. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for another amazing show. Namaste
Thank
to
you.
everybody. And
Love to
to our
all.
listeners, we will see you next week.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.